RIP to all of the headphone users because I screamed for no reason. That was awesome. Great, beautiful, blessed Monday afternoon. What up, YouTube? You on here early? All right, YouTube, go. If you do not know, never been here, my name is Tenille, and I help women who've been diagnosed with lupus go from confused and discouraged to healed, hopeful, and in control of the medical narrative. You should be able to see me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So far, I have proof of YouTube. Holler at me if you are on any of those other streams. So I make sure everybody, hey, live from Florida. Hey, Nettie. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to trust that Facebook can also see me, because generally Facebook is an easy stream. Don't give me any problems. I appreciate you. Okay, so I'm so excited about today, y'all. I'm so excited about today. Okay, so I went to that lupus event at the state capitol, because I do things at the state capitol, and I met an incredible mother-daughter pair, which warmed my heart so much because there's several reasons, but you know, my mother has really been my ride or die through the whole thing. My mother at one point quit her job to be at my bedside while I was in the hospital for 3 months. So, and I'm an only child, so she has no backup babies or anything. So I really have a soft spot for when I see daughter lupus warriors with their mothers. It's so heartwarming to me, and I appreciate the fact that they even made time to be here, because I know that I podcast at a willy-nilly time of the day. So this young woman that I'm about to bring on first, I'm going to bring on the daughter first. She is basically famous in the lupus community. I'm not going to get into her story because I really want to tell you, but she's going to tell you. But it's an incredible story. It's crazy. She is so young, 17, and she has the poise of a grown, like, I was like, are we the same age? Because what's going on? Because she's very poised and very in control of herself. And I know I was willy-nilly at 17. I was all the things, all the things. You won't talk about it. Anyways, so but she's been dealing with this disease for a long time, and she really knows what she's talking about. She really is an inspiration to anyone who is younger and not knowing if they can understand what's going on with themselves or get through it. She got through it, and she is getting through it every day. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to meet Miss Sophia. Okay, hello. Can we hear you? Hello, hello. Oh no, I cannot hear you. No, I can't hear you. Maybe y'all would need to share a mic. I see you. There she is. That's Sophia Galvis, guys. She talks, but we just can't hear. But she is there. What can we do? See if there's anything on my end. Can I make the volume higher? Edit mic setting. Background noise. Mic volume. I'm gonna put the mic volume up a little and see if that works. Live podcast, guys. This is how it goes. Okay, talk again. See if something's happening. Oh, yes, Mom, come rescue us. I'm not sure what happened. Anyhow, while we're figuring out the mics, I'm going to talk a little bit about two things. I'm going to have another masterclass coming up soon. Okay, so I'm going to do that announcement coming up soon. I just want to make sure that you guys know, if you have never been on one of my masterclasses, or you wonder, like, what does she do? She's on the internet all the time promoting something. I just don't know what it is. Come to the masterclass. if you don't know if you belong in a masterclass, if you need to talk to me before you come to the masterclass, book a call. Get in my calendar. The link is everywhere. I'll add it in the comments of everything when we're done here. And it is for you. If you're watching me on a consistent basis and you don't know what's going on, definitely book yourself a call. It will be worth your time. About probably 15 minutes of your time that I will take. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. So we're sharing. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Yay!
Yeah,
I'm just happy. I'm happy. Okay, great. All right. So this is awesome. With y'all not being in the same space, I felt like some people could have said some things, you know, that they don't want the other one to hear, but it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna do this together. So Sophia, please introduce yourself. Tell my audience who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Sophia Galvis. I am from Cartersville, Georgia. Kind of moved around a little around the Atlanta area, just kind of been all around. And I was diagnosed with lupus at 12 years old, actually. So it's almost been about 6 years since I've been diagnosed. And it's just been a long journey. But I've had a lot of support during this. My family, my mom in particular. I hear your mom say that your mom did quit her job. My mom actually did quit her job too to stay home with me while I was going through chemo. And I just really appreciate that.
Great momming. It's great momming. It's crazy. You know, like, so you were 12 years old when you got diagnosed. Mm-hmm. Had anybody in your family known what lupus was when you got diagnosed?
Nope, nobody had lupus. We didn't know what lupus was. We didn't know anything about it. We've never heard any advocacy for it. So,
wow, that's insane. And what did you think? So when you got diagnosed, were you sick before? What was how long did it take to diagnose in the first place? How long?
Well, it was kind of a build up to it. It didn't take as long as most diagnoses. It took maybe about, so the diagnosis itself took a couple hours. I was sick prior to for a few months, starting maybe around Memorial Day, leading into July. I was diagnosed July 1st. So it was a pretty fast diagnosis, but I really didn't feel well. I was in the sun a lot. Previously because we were on a cruise that whole time, and it developed this huge rash on my face. It was really bad, and that was kind of the telltale sign for the doctors.
Yeah, what is it called, the wolf mask or something?
The butterfly rash.
Butterfly rash, yeah. I was looking up, the reason I said wolf is because I was looking up when lupus first was being thought of in the whatever hundreds, long ago, that they thought it was from a bite from a wolf. They thought that's what lupus was caused.
Really?
That it bit you in the night, and that's how.
Oh, so odd! I never heard that before.
It's so ridiculous. There's so many wise tales or whatever it's called. Wives. I didn't say either of those words. It's fine. So you're 12. You get diagnosed. And Mom, what are you thinking during this time? The thing is, I wanted to do it separate so that I could ask you separately what you thought. But since we're together, we're just going to run it through together. Yeah. So, Mom, your baby is 12. What grade are you in at 12? Sixth grade. Sixth grade. Your baby is 12, sick for months, and you don't know what's going on, and they tell you it's lupus. What do you think?
I mean, definitely in a shock because I have two daughters, and the younger one has always been sick, ear infections, and when she gets a cold, it turns into pneumonia. So I was always like, if something's going to happen, my money's on the little one. And Sophia was always just so healthy. And then one day we were outside, and she had a little bitty rash on her cheek, and I thought, oh, she's getting a cold sore because I get cold sores. So, oh no, Sophia is going to have cold sores for the rest of her life like I am. But it never went away. It just stayed there. So after a couple of weeks, we took her to a dermatologist, and we're hearing this a lot from people that one of the first symptoms is a rash, and they go to the dermatologist and they get misdiagnosed because we're not pushing like, hey, can you biopsy this? Hey, can you like scrape some off and see under the microscope what it is? They just looked at it and they went to a very common, hey, this is some kind of psoriasis. Here is a topical medicine for it. It should go away in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up going on a cruise and we were out in the sun and she wasn't saying anything, but she didn't want to get into the water. And at one point she just said she was really cold. Because Sophia doesn't complain. Like she has always been, and she's like, oh, I scraped my knee. I'm like, okay, get up, run it off. And so she got into the mentality of, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say anything because my mom's going to say, shake it off. So she said she didn't want to get into the water because she was cold. And here we're in the Caribbean. How could it be cold in July? Yeah. And my husband went to hug her and said she's burning up. And I did have like a little medical kit back in our room and I took her temperature. It was 104. And so we knew from that moment, like something's wrong and she didn't want to eat. And so our ship ended in Puerto Rico and we were like, we do not want to get medical care here. So we flew home, took her straight to the ER.
Oh, wow.
And they walked in, they looked at her. At this point, the rash had bridged over her nose and it was from cheek to cheek. And and she was just struggling to breathe. Like there was a lot of things that were all of a sudden came on within a couple of days. But the doctor walked in, she took one look at her and she said, I am 99% sure I know what she has. I want to run some tests, but we're going to transfer her to another hospital. And mind you, this is all on her birthday.
Oh no, baby.
And Sophia was taking it like a champ. She's like, okay, sounds great. Like I get to ride it in the ambulance. And her dad and I are like, yay. Like we were trying to stay calm. But I asked, I said, well, what do you think it is? And she said, well, let me do blood tests first. So of course, I'm going to Google, like, what does the Google say? And of course, the first thing that pops up with the rash over the face is lupus. And I'm like, okay, a young child that is white. I mean, she's mixed. Sophia's mixed, but I'm like, she's white. Like, this is not the typical stereotype. Like, what is lupus? Nobody in our family has lupus. Like, she's not meeting this over 40-year-old woman criteria. And so, because when you have that stigma in your head of what it is.
Yeah. Wait, so you had heard of it before or you just what Google said?
I had I had heard of it in the past of friends maybe having it. But it was just, I'm going to take some Plaquenil and be fine. Kind of in passing. That's why, barely heard of it. I had a stigma in my head of what it looked like. Who would it affect? Had no idea with a rash, but I still didn't know what it was. Like, then I'm instantly like, what is lupus? And I'm reading up on what lupus is. And it's very terrifying because it's like, it sounds almost like a cancer. It almost sounds like AIDS. Like it functions almost in a similar way of the body's attacking healthy things in it that think is foreign and not healthy. And so I'm like, what are we dealing with here?
That is terrifying. That is terrifying. And so your 12-year-old daughter, who is her birthday, baby.
It's her birthday.
Just getting diagnosed with, or not even diagnosed yet, but just the suspicion of this mystery disease that you've never heard of, except for older colored women. Yes. With your little baby, off-white baby.
She was very brown at the time because of the sun.
Yeah, like that's insane. That's crazy. So like, what was your first what did you say to yourself? Were you like, okay, I'm about to mom this. I'm about to like, what was your method of action then?
I think my first, you go through the 7 stages of grief because when your child is diagnosed with something, you do enter a period of mourning. And so my first step was anger. And I was very, very angry at God because every night when I would put my girls to bed, I pray over my girls, like, please do not let anything happen to them. I am not strong enough. If something's going to happen, please let it be me or my husband. And so I was so angry at God, probably for the next 3 years. I was angry at God, like, I prayed every night that you wouldn't
Right.
do this. I told you I'm not strong enough. And I think just the acceptance and understanding his plan, understanding the strength and beauty that came out of it with our family, with me, and especially with Sophia. I mean, as you said when he introduced her, that you don't know other 17-year-olds who are as poised as she is. And I don't either. I'm a high school teacher and I work with teenagers all day long. And
That's
Sophia
crazy.
presents herself as an adult. And so, I mean, it's just brought her to a whole new perspective of life, of enjoyment, of when things happen. Like, what do we weigh as this is not as big of a deal as this is over here? Like things that other kids tend to go through that aren't struggling with things. And it gives her a greater perspective and compassion for people and understanding the many journeys of walking through life. And in that, after she got diagnosed, a couple of years after she got diagnosed, all of the stress brought out an autoimmune in me as well. Myasthenia gravis, which is like a to MS in a sense. And so now we walk through this journey together of we're tired.
Yes.
Yes.
You just take a nap. Just take a nap.
But look at that though. Like,
nap party later.
Yeah.
it's look at God. Like that is incredible that you said, I'm not strong enough. And God was like, are you sure? Like, let me show you. Like, you are strong enough. And
well, the answer is you're not strong enough, but through me, you're going to be strong enough.
Exactly.
Because I depended on my own strength, and I can't. Like most days, I get so angry sometimes because Sophia is very involved in church and she wants to do mission trips. And something I struggle with to this day is she wants to go and do all these mission trips. Our church partners with Africa and does so much in Africa, building wells, building hospitals and schools. And Sophia wants to go over there so badly, but guess what? Most of Africa is covered in is the sun, and she can't. And so I'm like, God, like you've given her a heart for missions, like, but she can't do these things that she is passionate about. And so we're trying to, like God saying, there's other ways to do missions. And that's how becoming an advocate for her has become a big thing for her, to reach out, to love on other kids. I mean, and part of her journey is acceptance and being able to say, I have lupus, I'm on chemo, I'm on these things, because she didn't want to be seen as the sick child. And so for the first 3 years, she didn't tell anybody she had lupus. And the first time...
I can't keep a secret for my life. What do you mean?
Huge secret.
Yeah.
What? I would have been in the street just telling people, hey, have you ever heard of lupus?
No.
That's what I have. Like, it's so crazy. Wow. No, you were just born different. That's crazy. So when did you end up advocating? Like what brought you to like acceptance of like, this is my life and I'm going to share it?
It was definitely a few years after when I started accepting myself. I was on prednisone, which is a really intense steroid, and I was on a really high dosage of it. And what comes with prednisone sometimes can be the moon face, which it'll blow you up a little bit. And I was super self-conscious about that. Mind you, I'm a 15-year-old girl with this huge blown up face. And so of course I'm going to feel super, super self-conscious. So when I finally started coming off of that, I finally started feeling my own skin. And then, after that, it was like, okay, well, that sucked. I don't want anybody else to go through that. So obviously I started reaching out in different ways that I could, talking to the Lupus Foundation of America. The Georgia chapter has been super helpful for advocating. I feel like I've really gotten to say my part in helping people. I want to help the girls that were like me, who were 12 years old. They didn't have a community of people with lupus. They felt like they had to hide it from everybody. I want to help those 12-year-old girls. I want to help in the future. Hopefully there will be a cure for lupus, so when they're diagnosed, they don't have to live with it for the rest of their lives.
Yes, I love that. I mean, it is so, and I'm not saying that every young kid is just like willy-nilly and ridiculous. I'm just saying that y'all should be really, really proud of yourselves, because as a kid, you're generally just focused on yourself. And even as an adult, in all honesty, like people don't care about other people, because your world is all consuming, and especially if you're not feeling well, and especially if things are not perfect the way you want them to be, your own journey can be very consuming. And like, I give people grace because I understand being in that space. But as a kid, as anything with teen at the end, to have any kind of conscience to be like, that sucks. I don't want that to happen to anyone else. Maybe I should talk about it and help other people is incredible. Like, that is a God thing. That is not like, as wonderfully as your parents raised you. That is a God thing for sure.
Right. It's like, God gave me this disease and I want to use it to help people. Might as well make some use out of it.
Exactly. I need a t-shirt that says, well, that sucks, and now this. A good motto for everything. So can you tell us a little bit about, you mentioned chemo, and like, I've been on all the medications that you've also been on. So not all, but I mean, like, the ones we talked about, Cellcept and prednisone. So tell us about chemo, and how old were you when you were on traditional chemo, like
Cytoxin, chemo infusions. I went.
Okay. So tell us about that. How did that go? Like, when did they introduce it to you, and how did you take that news?
They first introduced it. Well, first of all, I got my first infusion when I was diagnosed at 12 years old in the hospital. Like that exact, like the day after they started putting me on chemo infusion, which is actually crazy.
No warning.
It's like very intense. It's like, we're just gonna put you in chemo. It's like, but
the reason why is because when they came in and said we got her blood test back, like, everything was at zero pretty much. Her red blood count, her white blood count, everybody in the room, the paramedics we all had to suit up, like head to toe. We're like, we cannot infect Sophia with anything. And I'm like, we just got off a cruise ship. We just got back from Puerto Rico. We just got off an airplane. Like, what has my child been exposed to? And so when they transported her over to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, they said, we have to do biopsies. We have to start, like, they started doing IV prednisone right away. And then they said, the next thing is we're going to do Cytoxin, because everything in her body, her liver, her kidneys, everything was shutting down. I mean, she was at the point of transplant, like we have to do drastic or it's going to be bad.
Right. So. And she was like walking around, like being like, I'm okay, I'm fine. Like, everything, man.
She was walking around the streets of Puerto Rico. She was like, walking around the cruise ship. She was walking around the islands that we stopped at, getting on the boats, doing everything. I mean, because she just has the, I'm going to be part of it and I'm going to push through it attitude.
Crazy. That's the thing, though.
I have FOMO. Is she here missing out?
And that's a problem with Lupus, because now as a 17-year-old, she's looking towards graduation. But even in that, she's going to college full time with straight A's. She goes to church numerous times a week. She has a job that she's working 30 to 35 hours a week. Wow. And she has a boyfriend, and she's here at home maintaining chores. And we're like, at one point, like, you've got to rest.
Yeah.
I can't miss
so
out.
Hard. Mom, it's so hard.
Yes.
This is a thing, too, that people don't get, is that right now, you can be on chemotherapy medication. You could be taking medication every day. You could be working a job, having a social life, keeping up your house, living out your dreams, doing what you want, and still be sick with lupus. You can still have a chronic illness and look like nothing is wrong with you. She is a gorgeous girl. You are a gorgeous mom. And I, walking down the street, I would never just look around and be like, oh, look at those sick people over there. But spoonies understand that, like, we can be doing a multitude of things and living as if nothing is wrong with us when our bodies are straight up breaking down. So people watching this, please be mindful of what you say to a spoonie, what you say to somebody who is dealing with something, because they don't have to look sick to be falling apart inside.
I feel like that's the big thing about lupus. It's an invisible disease. Maybe that's the reason you don't get as much advocating, like, because you don't notice. You can't tell unless you're like extremely sick laying in a hospital bed. Right. It's inside and you can look completely normal, but lupus is there and it's destroying everything.
Right. right? It's just burning everything down. And I know that FOMO is so real because that is another reason it can be hard to understand how sick you are to yourself. Like
Right.
to be like, oh, I need to rest today. Like I had to do it yesterday. I had to rest for basically the whole day. And I hated it. I mean, it felt better, but like I had been working really, really hard back to back to back days, like on my feet all day. And my body was like, girl, have you met us? We need some rest. So
Mhm.
you will have to do that and just be mindful when you go to college. As much fun as it's going to be, please don't go there to flare. We love you. We want you to be healthy.
Mhm.
So now you're diagnosed, you are doing chemo. So during chemo, you do the one intravenous. How come they put you back? Like, how come you went home and they said, oh, come back?
Well, so they originally said I was going to have to do 6 months of chemo infusions while I was in the hospital. My parents, they didn't tell me that I was going to get chemo until after it was already inside of me. Because I'm a 12-year-old, right? The chemo word is associated with cancer and losing your hair. So the reason you lose all of your hair. That's a big thing for me. First of all, I'm 12-year-old. I'm really insecure and I want to be pretty. Second of all, if you lose your hair, you're obviously seen as sick. It's like, oh, I am a sick kid. So I really didn't want to lose my hair so I could be identified as sick. Because then even myself, I would have to acknowledge myself that I'm sick. Right. So it was a huge news breaker when they just sat me on the hospital. They were like, hey, you're gonna have to go through chemo. And I was just like crying. I was like, I was like asking if I was gonna have to lose my hair. It was just a whole life-changing revelation for me. So anyway, after that, the doctors, they put me on chemo for 6 months. They said, we're going to do about 6 chemo infusions, see how you do after that, if that helps. So I did one infusion every month for 6 months. And then in the infusion center, I was the first one there in the morning and the last one there at night. And I just, I did have to be homeschooled for that period so I could continue my education because chemo would then take me out for several days after that. I'd be just like vomiting, my whole body would be shaking. It was a lot.
Oh, my heart. How do you look at that? I would not be able to be okay. Like I could not. My mother was 20-something and my mother was, in shambles. Like when I was going through all this stuff in the hospital for 3 months at a time and then like at rehabs to learn how to walk and stuff again. So and I did lose my hair. However, I don't know if you know this, but we can buy stuff now. We can buy it. And also, I used to wear really cute head wraps and that kind of things. Like it does suck. And it is the first time I lost my hair, I was not okay. But it happened again after that. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Like I'm good. But like, it is a very identity thing. Like to be looked at sick is so it's just hard. It feels terrible. You didn't buy this. Nobody went to the store and bought sickness. No one said, myasthenia gravis.
Right.
Buy some. Like, no, nobody did that. So there should be no shame in sickness. You didn't ask for it. There's nothing you could have done to make it not have happened to you specifically. Like it happened to you so you could go through the things you went through, so you could teach the people that you've taught so far, so you could grow up through the force that you already are, girl. Like it's so good. So how do you feel about that now? Like how do you feel about sickness? Like do you feel it's a blessing, or do you feel like that still sucked and I hate everything about it?
I feel like it still sucks, but I've come to terms with it. Like it's a part of me. It is what built me into this person today. I have done so much that I feel like I wouldn't have been able to do without lupus, which is ironic because lupus it makes you tired, it makes you exhausted. And it's essentially you would think it holds you back, but I feel like it made me into who I am. It made me think, oh, well, these things can happen. Anything can happen, actually. Because I never thought I would be the sick person. I never thought I would get sick or have to be on chemo. But here I am. And so it was like, oh, well, anything can happen. So I made anything happen. I started pursuing like my dreams and, doing what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, same question, Mom. What do you think, like, all of this illness stuff is a blessing or a curse or a combination? How do you feel?
I would definitely say a combination. I mean, every day brings a different. Is it going to be a good day? Is it going to be a tired day? Is it going to be I feel terrible day? Because most people who have lupus or an autoimmune disease have multiple things. Mm-hmm. And so Sophia, of course, has multiple things with lupus. And sometimes the other ones are more of a problem than lupus is that we're having to watch out for. And I think as a parent, we're constantly dreaming for the future of our children, and we want them to be successful and have all of their dreams come true. And I think lupus really makes us change our perspective of we don't focus on the future, we focus on today. And we know that their future isn't going to look how I wanted it to or how she wanted it to. It's going to be how God shapes it and becoming this beautiful thing. I mean, the homeschooling, like I'm a public school teacher, and to think my child would homeschool, we were so against it. Like, no, she has to be in school. She has to be socialized. She has to be all of this. And picking her up from school, the first day after, school started, she was in the hospital over the summer, started chemo, first day of school, picking her up and just watching her carry that backpack and having to go through school all day, carrying this backpack, moving constantly, like trying to retain the information that the teachers are giving you. Like, brain fog is real. Mm-hmm. And so just looking at her, and she was so out of breath getting in the car that I was just like, no, like this is not how we're going to survive. Like, we're going to thrive, and we're not going to thrive going to school every day. And so she came home. My husband, his company was amazing, let him work from home. So the two of them were at home. I was still teaching every day. And as a teacher, we're investing 60 hours a week into our jobs. And I would come home with nothing left. Wow. And then taking her to the chemo infusions and watching her be sick, she would text me or call me that she was throwing up the next day or that she had terrible migraines from the chemo. And I'm like, what kind of mother am I? So I left because I needed to be with my baby. And I never thought that I would leave teaching. And now my career looks very different, and I love it even more. So there are definitely blessings through this whole thing sucks, but there's blessings throughout it that we have to count. The independence that she's gained, she's gotten to do acting and other things because of being homeschooled. And so those have definitely been wins in that perspective. But you had mentioned that your mom, she was just falling apart. And this is something that I share with parents a lot, that during those first 6 months, maybe even the first year, I was struggling with a lot of things, just the emotional toil of watching my daughter go through this. And but I was going through the motions, and I was surviving, and I wasn't crying, and I was trying to be upbeat and fun for her. And it wasn't until about a year and a half later that everything came crashing down. And a lot of doctors and psychologists are telling people that a lot of times when you go through something, you're in survival mode, whether you're the actual person or whether you're the parent, and your emotions don't catch up until everything calms down. When everything gets a little bit easier, when the silence and the stillness comes in, that's when your emotions catch up, and that's when your body catches up. Yeah. And so that's when I started having terrible anxiety and going through so much, was after she was kind of on the other side of the flare. And of course, we have many flares here and there and go through stuff, but it definitely, as a parent, caught up with me and affected me in the long run. So a lot of people say, how do you handle it? Well, I didn't. I mean, the first year I just survived it, and I tried to be strong for her, watching her go through it, because holding her hair back while she was throwing up and holding her while she had the migraines from the side effects. I mean, I had to be strong, and then I was strong until I couldn't be strong anymore. So
that is such a huge, that's huge, because so many people are in some capacity going through like real turmoil, but they don't feel it until later. It's like whiplash. It's like being sick and being the loved one of someone who is sick is like being in a slingshot, where it's like you're being pulled back, and just like pushing yourself forward, like just go. And at some point, the slingshot is going to snap, and you're going to, fly forward in a positive way or in a negative way, or fall apart. Like you get to choose to love to deal with as much as you possibly can while you can. Like there's no use in like forcing it, but it feels better to be in that survival mode than to let the feelings happen. And because they're big and it's scary. That's your child. Like you birthed that person, and now there's nothing you can do. You have to just let the doctors do what they're doing, and the medicine and God, and be there. So it's got to be uncomfortable, and I commend you for all that you did. And I'm really sorry that you did get sick, because I feel like stress and that kind of stuff, like the body really does keep score in that way, that like if you just keep pushing stuff down, it pops back up in a
Absolutely.
negative. So I am sorry that you got sick, but I'm just so proud of you. I'm just so proud of you. Like your daughter's amazing. I don't know your other daughter, but I can only imagine like your
She's
family.
a force to be reckoned with. She's gonna do a lot. You'll probably hear about her someday.
She said she's a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, I love it.
She's definitely the second child, the baby.
Oh, good. You got all the opinion and the sassiness. I love that. But yeah, wow. Okay, so now we are here. You're working again, mother. Daughter, you are getting ready to graduate high school and do all the things. I'm going to bring us in for a landing. I know we could talk forever, but I don't want to drag y'all through it. But if you both had one piece of advice for someone watching this podcast today, what would it be? Each do your own.
You first? Are you thinking? You go first. Okay. I would say don't let anything hold you back. Like, first of all, you do need to listen to your body. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but still don't let it hold you back. You can still do the things that you wanted to do in life. You can still do everything you were planning to do before you were diagnosed. It's just going to look a little different. You're just going to have to do it a little differently than you did before. And you know what? It's just going to make you stronger.
Yes. Sophia has the message. That's like my live and die by that. Like, tell me I can't do something, but maybe I'll do a little slower. Maybe I'll do it like
dare me. I'll do it better. I'll do it better.
Thank you. What? Yeah, we're gonna start making some t-shirts, because all these things that you're saying, it's exactly what I'm like thinking all the time. Like, it's amazing. Okay, Mom, your turn.
I think I had two pieces of advice. The first one is not every day is going to be a bad day. I think when we're going through the flares, it just feels like this is it. Like this is my life, and it's not. There are so many different ways that, thankfully, medicine is advancing. I mean, they had told Sophia, had she been diagnosed probably 10 years prior, she wouldn't be alive. So medicine is advancing. We're so thankful for that. We're so thankful for all of the advocacy at the Capitol pushing for more money, for getting to speak to our legislators about the things that we need as Luppies. So just know that there is things will stabilize. Your normal will become a new normal, not your old normal, but you'll have a new normal, and you'll get there. It'll just take time. It might take a year, it might take 4 years, but there will be a new normal, and you can rest in that. And then my second piece of advice, especially with lupus, is it doesn't all look the same. Like how a person is diagnosed, the medicines people take, how they feel, what it attacks, it is different from person to person. How many times we've been told, well, just do some yoga, you'll feel better. I mean, maybe that works for some people with lupus. I haven't met anybody that it works for, but it doesn't work for Sophia. Like every person is different, whether it's certain medications, whether it's certain like very naturalistic healing, which I love that. And I think one day we would want to move towards that. Right now, what's working for her might not be working for the next person. And so definitely listen to your doctors, listen to your body, do your own research as well, and speak out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. And all the things, like, I've had actually a guest on the podcast who, like, she's in remission from lupus and she teaches yoga and she advocates for, like, you know, lupus to do their yoga and whatever. And the amount of hate she gets in the comments of her stuff, Lord, but it genuinely works for her. It genuinely does. So, like,
right.
Never hate on whatever's working for you. If it's not hurting anybody else, girl, do that. And, like, I do also advocate for trying things, like, do other things. Don't just be like, this isn't working and I'm dying. And like, no, you got to figure out the way that works for your specific body and we will support you. But I love that you found what works for you. Yeah, those medications are pretty harsh. Let's figure out a little in between or something like that. I was on CellCept for a long time and that is a scary medication.
I'm still on CellCept.
Yeah.
But, you know, we still got so much more life left to live.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. I want check-ins. I want to make sure you're doing well when you're in college. Maybe we'll do a college episode. You can show us how we can.
I love that. Also, I'll give you like a dorm tour.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be so fun. So I'm going to say, where would you like, if you would like them to follow you, where would you like people to follow you? I'll put all the links in the description, but where would you like people to follow you?
I don't really post. I mean, I have Instagram and I post a little bit on TikTok. I guess you can link those if you would like to.
Okay, I will link her TikTok, and I saw a video that was cute of in the Capitol where I met y'all. On your TikTok, that was adorable.
She does have cute TikToks about lupus. Yeah.
I advocate for people following her on TikTok. That's just me.
You advocate.
Yeah. Mama Tracie, would you like to be followed anywhere? You're like, don't follow me. Leave me alone. Okay.
I'm gonna say you might not want to follow me right now. My my social media is a little bit political. Okay. Instead of advocating for lupus, I'm advocating for other things. So
yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Everything on social media is kind of political. You just gotta kind of sidestep and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight with anybody. Yeah. But I really am grateful for y'all being on here today. Like, this was so nice, and like, I'm really, really proud of the both of you. Like, you are just living your lives, but you are making such a huge impact. It's so gorgeous to see you out there advocating and being a mother-daughter duo. You know, it's not, everyone doesn't have that, and it's just very heartwarming, and I love it so much. So thank you so much for being here. And
thank you so much for listening to our story.
And thank you for having this podcast. This is amazing that you have this podcast and advocating for lupus and do this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. You guys, thanks for being here, everyone. Let me see. Wait, there might be comments. Sometimes there's comments, and if I don't read them, people get mad, especially on Instagram, because those go away. Okay. This is a heartfelt and very educational episode. My mom put all the emojis. So many emojis.
We love your mom.
Get her to come on, and she refuses. Okay, just do what works best for you. Yes. People want the college tours. Good luck, Sophia. We'd love to see that you are using your voices. What a great example. You're so encouraging. God bless. Yes. Thank you guys for the comments on Instagram. Those will go away. Please come back and watch again and comment again. I love it. And yes. Okay. So we will end this. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And stay happily healed. See you next week.
Bye.